What is going on, you guys? Jonathan Zamora here. Today we are going to be doing a full case study where I walk through the framework on how I scaled one of my clients' stores from 0% in email revenue to 30% in email revenue while doing $400,000 months. Just to show you I'm not playing, I'll show you guys the results here. It is a crazy case study, and before we get into it, I want to make sure that you guys smash the thumbs up button. These types of videos take a lot of work. I've been working so hard on it, I'm starting to lose my voice. Hope you enjoy.
And just to give you guys some context on where this client started before working with us, they actually didn't have any revenue coming from Klaviyo really at all. The first 30 days they had about $114,000 in total revenue, only had an abandoned cart and a custom thank you set up. We took a couple of screenshots here just to make sure that we had everything documented from A to Z so that we kind of knew what our starting point was, less than 1% in overall revenue coming directly from Klaviyo. Now, to follow that up, this is what the account looks like currently. Last 30 days is $440,000 in total sales. And about 29% of that is going to be coming directly from Klaviyo. Now, that is going to be a mixture of both flows and campaigns. And we have a very healthy balance here of about 19% coming from flows and about 10% coming from campaigns. Let's go ahead and dive into the 5-step process that we use for our clients whenever we first start working with their account. Number 1 is going to be the core 4. This is really going to be our abandonment series that is going to be on every single account that we get onto. This is browse abandonment, site abandonment, abandoned checkout, and abandoned cart. Second is going to be the welcome series. To me, this is really the fuel to the entire ecosystem, because the welcome series is going to be the thing that is going to initially get people in a lot of the times and is going to really feed your list. How you collect emails in the welcome series is going to be typically through a pop-up that shows up on the website and collects email addresses. Now, the reason this is important is because the welcome series will collect that email address and store it and start to send them some of those initial emails. But if the client comes back 14, 21 days later, now all of the additional flows that we have set up, like the core 4, are going to trigger perfectly. And then last is going to be the custom thank you. You could do a lot of very creative things inside of this thank you sequence. Some, for example, are going to be cross sells or even collecting UGC, user generated content. It's really going to depend on your brand's overall strategy. But if you're trying to drive revenue, I would definitely recommend doing a cross sell. So that way you could go ahead and just promote some additional products. Now, on to step 2 is going to be starting the campaign cadence. A lot of the times whenever people go through and start sending emails, they want to go crazy with it, where they are sending an email every other day, or even worse, an email every day. And even if you have a list that is humongous, if you haven't been sending to them consistently, you're going to want to start off nice and easy and then ease your way into a higher frequency as long as the KPIs match. Now, what does that mean? For us, whenever we are first getting started on any client account, unless we are having some very specific circumstances, like the client's already sending 4 or 5 emails a week and we already have really good data, we'll typically start with about 2 to 3 campaigns a week. Now, the reason being is because this is a good light cadence where we're sending about 8 campaigns a month. It's not too much, but it's not too little. It still allows us to get some data. And then once we have that data, now we could go through and make decisions. The things that we're going to be looking at are going to be open rate and click-through rate. You're going to have to determine what types of open rates and click-through rates you would like. For us, we're looking about 20% and 1% respectively. As long as we have those pieces of data in line with our goal KPIs, then at that point, we'll increase the cadence until we start to kind of get a little friction, a little bit of pushback. To us, that's going to be going through, sending out 8 throughout the duration of the month. Let's just say that all of those had a 20% open rate, a 1% click-through rate, then beautiful. That's perfect. That's exactly what we would like. The next step is then going through and increasing the cadence from 2 campaigns a week to now 3 campaigns a week. Now, as you start to do this, you're going to see, okay, there's going to be a difference in the open rate for sure. There's also going to be a difference in the click-through rate. And if you start to see these numbers start to die down a little bit, then what that means is you need to ease off of the gas a little bit and maybe go back to 2. Some brands, depending on their size, can go up to a campaign a day relatively easily. That's where we have our current client that I was showing you here. We have them every other day sending out a campaign because their brand is just doing well enough and they're getting enough emails that we can segment it out and still keep really high open rates and also keep revenue high for each email that we are sending to really make it worth it for building out the campaign. Now, step number 3 is going to be collecting data. Now, on the data, there's a lot of different things that you could focus on and start to kind of dial into. And I don't want you guys to get all overwhelmed here. So there's going to be a few points that I want you to focus on. Number 1 is going to be list health. Okay, whenever you are going through and sending out campaigns or starting to kind of send out these automations, you're going to start to see some of these people that just aren't really resonating with the offers or the emails that you're putting out there. You want to make sure that you are starting to segment out some of those people that aren't opening emails. One of the easiest ways to do this is look at the people that are in different email providers like Gmail, AOL, Yahoo, and figure out some of those ones that are maybe a little bit lower on open rates or click-through rates and pull them out of your email sequences that are less engaging. For example, a sunset unengaged sequence, which is basically like a breakup sequence. It's whenever somebody hasn't interacted with your brand or bought something in a long time, you might be sending them this email. It's a great email and it's something that you should absolutely be sending. But let's just say, for example, that people on AOL historically have a really low open rate for you for whatever reason. Then what you should do is you should leave AOL involved in all of your email sequences, except for maybe that unengaged sequence. You're going to pull them out in that circumstance so they aren't getting those low open emails anyways. So that way you can start to move that average a little bit higher. Now, we're not doing this just to kind of fudge the numbers and make it so that our open rates look higher. The reason that we're doing that is because it helps with deliverability. Deliverability is basically the concept of how is our emails being placed inside of an inbox. They could be ending up in the main inbox, which is great. That's exactly what we want. They could also be ending up in the promotions tab or even the spam box. That's about as bad as it gets, right? And so deliverability is something that you have to have top of mind for your brand or for your clients if you're offering this as a service to say, okay, how are we going to get inside of the main inbox consistently? Well, the way you're going to do this is starting to move up these open rates and these click-through rates, moving up that average consistently. The reason that we're doing that is because it builds up a good reputation with those email providers. Make sense? Cool. Then number 3 is going to be split testing offers. Now, earlier I told you, hey, offers are fantastic. You need a good offer in order to win. And you were wondering, how the hell do we get a good offer? Well, this is it. Okay. Number 3 is split test offers on best performing emails. So you're going to have some emails that absolutely do phenomenal. Great. You're also going to have some emails that just don't get clicks, they don't get opens, and nobody really cares about them. A lot of the times people want to figure out, well, how do I get these really bad emails to perform better? But what is easier, at least initially, is to get those good emails to perform great because they're already working really good. So if you fine tune them, you can actually ramp them up. This is really Pareto's principle. It's the 80-20 rule. You have the 20% of your emails that are getting 80% of the results. So if you focus on that 20%, you could get even better results across the board. So what we start with is those best performing emails. That's typically going to be inside of our core 4, site abandonment, browse abandonment, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, one of those flows, or the welcome series. We're going to look in there and figure out which emails are performing the best. That's mostly going to be from a revenue standpoint, but you can pay attention to open rate and click-through rate. Now, at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to split test offers. Let's just say that we have a 10% off on our welcome series. Awesome. Well, what would be good to maybe test is instead of 10% off, we could do, if it's a $50 item, 10% off would be $5 off technically. We can do, instead of 10% off, we could do a $5 off amount. Now, dollar amount wise, it's the same exact thing. It doesn't really matter, right? But that little change in the verbiage can have a really big difference in results. We could also try to bump up that number and say, instead of 10%, let's run 15 and see if that justifies the loss in revenue that we would be taking from increasing the amount. We could also do a spend over $50, get a $25 gift card, right? There's a ton of different offers that you could develop that don't really cut into margin a ton, but can be particularly interesting depending on your demographic. So with us, we're looking at those high performing emails and saying, how can we make this offer really compelling for our audience? Now, once we have that dialed in, then we're going to be looking at the pop-up. The pop-up, again, it's that little thing that will show up on the window and will be the thing that collects the email address. Having a compelling offer in the pop-up is particularly important because it helps us build our list. Now, inside of a pop-up, I can show you here on this account, inside of a pop-up, there is a number that will be shown right here, the form submission rate. For us, we want this form submission rate to be at minimum about 8%. That's our KPI inside of our agency, and for our clients, we want about 8%. You can see here that this is actually at 13%, which is awesome. That means that we are building this list 5% faster than our minimum KPI, which is going to give us a ton of additional emails, which gives our clients a ton of additional revenue, and really just allows us to get better performance as a whole. And the only reason we're able to get that type of performance is because we have split tested this offer many times, about 3 to 5 times over the course of months, to figure out what is going to be the most compelling offer that we could send. Now, okay, cool. You have flooded your account with data. You have a ton of these different data points, but you're only looking at the most important: list health, deliverability, and split testing some of those offers. Now let's move on to step number 4. If KPIs match, ramp up campaigns and flow additions. This is something we talked about a little bit earlier. So if you are sending out 2 campaigns a week and you have that 20% open rate and that 1% click-through rate, then ramp it up. This is how you're going to start to get some of those higher revenue numbers. Now, with this, you don't want to be sending campaigns that are just flash sales or, promotions over and over again. You want to be sending content. You want to be sending things that are compelling for your audience, but you can go through and ramp up the campaigns, and you can also add on to your ecosystem. Remember, we think about the flows kind of like an ecosystem that people are living within, and they live in different parts of this ecosystem depending on where they are inside of the email journey. Now, the reason this is important is because we're going to have flows that perform particularly well. Again, that might be inside of your core 4 or your welcome series a lot of the times, especially if you're starting to just collect some of this data. What you're going to do is you're going to look at the one that is performing the best performing flow, and scroll all the way to the bottom. Whenever you're at the bottom, you'll be able to figure out which email you could go and add on to. So with us, we're going to be looking at typically welcome series or abandoned checkout. And as long as we have at minimum a 1% placed order rate for that email, we're going to add an additional email underneath that to then go through and extend the sequence a little bit farther and give our clients or our customers an additional offer. That way we could try to squeeze a little bit of additional revenue out of this flow. So this is step number 4, really going through and looking at the data that we have, increasing the cadence of the campaigns, and then doing some flow additions to add on to our email ecosystem. Now, step 5 is very simple. Repeat steps 3 and 4 until desired results. Email is not complicated, guys. Whenever you have the data in place, it's really just repeating step 3 and 4. And this is where a lot of people get hung up, is because they don't know how to look at the data that they have collected, and they don't look at their KPIs and compare them against the data that they have. So for us, once we have step 3 and 4 in place, step 5 is just looping back in and starting to do this process all over again, where we collect the data and we kind of ramp up our campaigns. We do some flow additions, we collect the data on those, and then as long as they match our KPIs, then we go ahead and build a little bit further. And that's it. That's exactly how we have gotten this client to 25 to 30% of their overall revenue in 30 days. We got them from not having any revenue coming through on their email to 30% within a couple of months. And you can see in the last 90 days, they have generated $2.1 million in sales, and 27% of their overall revenue is coming directly from email.
All right, and that is going to be it for this video, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, make sure you smash the thumbs up button and also hit the red subscribe button to join the freaking family. That is going to be it for this one, though. I will see you on the next video. Peace.